Well, hey there team, welcome back to the channel and welcome to Industries of Titan. So this has just gone 1.0, so we're having a look at it today. It's developed by Brace Yourself Games, developed and published. They started off doing this on Epic. They've also done Crypt of the Necrodancer back in the day, a huge hit. They're doing Phantom Brigade, which is still on the Epic Store, pending coming across to Steam, which is a really cool sort of mech warrior strategy time manipulation game. It's actually fantastic. And then Godless, I'll have to go back and have another look at that. I covered it when it first came out, and that was very, very early access, but interesting nonetheless. Anyway, I like Industries of Titan. It has a little bit of an identity problem. I think it went through a bit of a transformation during early access. It's not exactly super industry heavy, and it has some gameplay loops that maybe you could even call a gimmick, a few pacing issues, that sort of stuff. But at the same time, I still think it's pretty good. It's going for like $40, which is about standard fare for a AA game. All right, so we're going to jump in here. The way that it's intended to be played, campaign. We'll click campaign, we'll get a match going, and I'll show you off the sort of loop. You can pull Ironside, Zera Corp, cool. You can shuffle up your symbols, that's nice. Let's turn the tutorials off. They're handy enough. I had to play with them the other day when this did launch. It is a bit of a slow burn, and I'm not 100% sure if that's because of the pacing actually not being very well realized or if it's intended. At the core, this game has two sort of ways of playing it. You've got the traditional colony builder-esque. Now we've got this as well, which they've added recently, which is where you sort of build out. This would be the one that I was doing the other day. So this is totally new. This meta progression that's leaning towards sort of God, how would we say? Sector it contains unknown activity. Oh, okay, all right. This is a little bit more like Against the Storm, I suppose, which is cool that they've added another layer, but it feels a little bit bolted on as well at the same time. Like this is something that's only just been added right before release. Anyway, whatever. Let's just start a new mission here. That's fine. It has this sort of micro-macro interaction. You build these factories, these multi-purpose buildings, and you can zoom into the building and build out from them. It's a really cool concept, and it works really well in the early game, but you sort of grow out of it as well. And now I have to pick this starting bonus. So look, they're implementing these roguelite meta components to the game, but it was never something that was really core to their design, at least as I followed it in early access. So I still have my reservations over whether this works or not. Devices cost less, residential buildings hold more citizens, citizens generate more waste. I mean, I don't really care at the moment because we're just sort of showcasing it. So here's your headquarters. You can press F, you can zoom in to the factory floor of your headquarters. You've got all these specific mini buildings that you can build out your industry from, and then on the outside you can build the more mega buildings, right? But once you do manage to break into this economy, and making the jump to that macro scale can be tricky. You gotta be careful you don't brick yourself. It sort of makes it so you don't need to build factories anymore, if that makes sense. It's a bit strange. Now this is countered because there's a sort of where is it? There's a shipyard building component where you can build ships and you can go into them and build out their structure as well. So I feel like the mid game becomes generic, and the early and late game where you're going into the factories and into the ships to build out their components is where the game really kind of shines. All right, anyway, we're going to send dudes out to survey these ruins. You can see that they can have resources, artifacts, or something else altogether. We'll just do that for the moment. We'll let it play out. Here you go. So if you click on that, you can see you can either salvage it for resources or you can claim an artifact. Artifact is a specific sort of currency. It's kind of rare. It has some specific case uses. So you sort of have to juggle that decision, right? And you can see here you can actually convert this inert ruins into a zethane generator, which is sort of the air fuel mixture. You can see here we don't have a lot around here, but you've got these vents, and that's how you generate power, fuel. The fuel is drawn from the air, all right? Okay, so let's start with getting a basic economy going. And essentially what you need is you need citizens, and you need them employed monetized to actually make an income. Because if you mouse over up here, we've also got workers. So you've got citizens and you've got employees. The employees have a wage that you have to pay, and they're the ones that build and do things, right? So you have to balance your money-making population, your civilians that generate income, and your workers that expend income, but they also do work. And you can see here, employee daily salaries, minus 320, right? And your projected loss because we're not earning anything. So something that you probably want to do early is get a habitation pod. Let's pop that there. And we'll speed it up, and our little dudes will carry the little bricks across. Cool. Now that's going to need power. You can see here we can't build an energy generator because we don't have any minerals. So what we'll do is we'll salvage... Oh, this building looks good because it's got no... Well, no, maybe we want to turn that into this zethane generator. How about this one? This one's perfect. It's got some minerals in there and there's no artifacts, so it's an easy decision. So we flag it for salvage and off we go. What we could also do is expand our territory out to something like a mineral patch here. We can claim it for 20 influence. You can see we've got this influence up the corner here, and it's always generating, but it kind of does bottleneck you a little bit. You can build buildings to make it go faster, but for now, we'll just claim that patch, and we'll assign an employee like that, and what he'll go over and is just farm up the minerals from it until it runs out of the 61 there. So that should keep us fed for the moment. Anyway, so we're going to get a generator. I don't know, let's stick it over here in the corner. That seems pretty cool. Now, the thing is that we need to create a grid so that you have this relay system. So if we put this relay like so, that will put the habitation pod on the same relay. Okay, but we're not quite there yet because we need to have fuel. You just build a fuel fabricator. Now, they did say that they were going to come up with a logistical component to fuel, but it seems that never manifested. So the fuel just magics away and then magics its way into the generator. Whatever, that's fine. It is interesting. You've got to be careful, I guess, with early access and having roadmaps and making promises and then having to cut content. You're going to miff people. But that's your basic power economy. You're generating fuel, and you can see it's sucking the zethane into the generator, and you've got a balance down here. We're at profit for fuel and we're at profit for power. In fact, what we could probably do is build like a battery on the grid, and we could build a fuel tank like that. If we're running in the black, we might as well accumulate that stuff. And you can see underneath there's a little green bar ticking over. Okay, so you can see here no monetization in range. Oh, that's kind of cool that warning is added. But up here you can see 0 out of 2. We now have a 2 population capacity. And if we go across to the spaceport, this is how we get migrants to our planet, to our colony. But we need 3 artifacts. So let's have a look. That's got 1 in there. That's got 2. That's got 2. 14. Yeah, okay, here we go. Let's extract from that. And then we'll extract from this as well. All right, let's go get those artifacts. So there is an interesting thing about your refinement in your economy, and it's something that when I played this in the OG, I admit I wasn't quite across. And the idea is that these individual little minerals are worth 1 block, but if you mouse up here, you can make them 2 and 3 tiered, which is times 5 and times 25. And all you got to do is create a rudimentary sort of put it through the processing refinement machine is probably the best way to look at it. And you can turn 1 block into a 25 value block. It's unusual. I don't think, the closest you get to an economy in a video game usually is building complex products that are more value in a market. In this, you just refine the block 2 and then 3 times, or to tier 2 and then to tier 3. Then it just makes the block of higher value. And that's something you really want to set up as early as possible. So there we go. We're going to buy access to the spaceport. Look at this, the habitability. The more popular your city is to off-world migrants. Ah, well that's kind of cool. Because we pull this up. Population and work. Is that it there? I'm not sure. Yeah, there's been a lot added. Anyway, so you wait for these ships to come by. Oh, look at this one. It's got 2 people for 4 influence. And you also have to take their waste and their minerals, potentially. Let's do that. So we go over to the spaceport. You can see the ship lands now. and our little civilians reporting in. And we've got 2 out of 2. And so they're going to live in that little house right here. So what we need now is to give them a job, a monetization station, which I think is kind of hilarious. It's a bit of a nod, wink at the camera of a dystopian future. They lie in bed all day watching TV screens, and then when they go to bed, they stand up and they watch ads. That makes money. I think it's cool. It's very cheeky. You can also go up to here and you can see citizens with jobs 1. This is the best way to reference it that I've found. And then we know that we've got 2 citizens, so we probably want another monetization station. Or I don't know, we could probably squeeze it there, to be honest. And we'll just wait for whoever is tasked. Maybe not. Oh no, there they are. Yeah, I was going to say, Jesus. Cool. So this guy's got a job now. Off he goes, off to work. Go and stand there and watch some ads. If you mouse over here, it'll give you an estimate. We're still running at an imbalance. There you go. We're making what? Projected income $40 a day. So money in, money out. So this is something that you have to consider, and a cornerstone of the early game is building up and trying to get in the black and trying to use your starting money as a bit of a float to get you by. You avoid buying the meta upgrades if you can help it, the large buildings, because what happens is you'll find that they'll require like a shitload of like energy that you can't really generate at this tiny level, right? But in the beginning you can build factories and you just need isotopes, this green stuff. So let's claim this and we'll extract that. I don't believe the storage facility requires power. Storage capacity plus 200. And we've got the credits at the beginning. So let's just do it just to sort of show off. We'll buy a storage facility. Oh, look at that. It actually costs quite a bit of like minerals and such, which I don't know if we have the storage capacity for at the moment, ironically. So how about we build... There we go. We'll build a slightly bigger storage. Like that. Oh, excuse me. A little tickle in the old throat. We've also got waste that you have to manage. You have to... oh my goodness. You have to store that totally separately. And then you build like smokestacks and all that to burn it. And then that can potentially kill your dudes with pollution. So there is a whole balance of your economy, your population, and your money in, money out, and the scaling up of your resources as well. However, industries are tightened. Not really big industry heavy. Rebels are going to attack as this levels up, and that seems to have a relationship, if I recall, between the sort of level of your city. All right, you're generating threat. The more crap you build, the more that scales up. But I really feel that the game has a huge balance problem in the mid game, because I mean, I don't know, maybe I can even just load something else here. Can I just load like that? We'll have a quick look at the game I was playing earlier in the week when this came out, and I hadn't. So this is sort of the city that I've built up here. You can see there's a cannon. Look at the power drain. If I turn it on, look at that. So that's why you got to be careful, that sort of thing. So in an ideal world, I would have streets and logistics unlocked, which I haven't really done. Big focus has been to try and balance the books, and look at that, ridiculous income versus outcome. And then I believe once you get to the point where you've pretty much unlocked everything, because I'm getting close to it, you know, it's $1,000 a thing, 5,000 for the shipyard. I think a lot of the money gets used in the council where you can pay them for more influence. You know what I mean? And then you can sort of use that influence accordingly. I haven't built the shipbuilding thing or anything, but to give you an idea of how it scales up, you need to have these things everywhere, these pylons, because they act as like we were looking at before on the small scale, that you need these grids as well. So you've got the small scale, you've got the large scale. Oh, look at all this mess. It needs some work as well. I've got some missions because I had the tutorial running on this too, which honestly is really handy. But yeah, that gives you a bit of an idea of where it's going. There's like a really large fuel turbine. I've renamed some of my things like residential here. So if we, oh no, that is residential office. Oh yeah, this is actually a good example here. Level 2 minerals. We'll go into here, and what we've done is this is a mineral processing plant. The minerals go in here, they get leveled up to 2, they get manned by a dude there, and then they spit out the level 2 block that you can see there, which in turn you can put into level 3 industry as well. So this is a bit cleaner because I've got a waste catcher on it, but the same sort of thing. And you can see I've got 1,300 minerals. So very quickly you can, multiply one mineral by 25. And I've just started setting up an ISO industry as well for the green thing as well. Anyway, so I feel like this where I am is in the stagnating phase of the balance of the game, in my words at least. And then what you end up doing is building these ships and a much more robust logistics network, and you just make the numbers exponentially blow out. And that's how you sort of end game starts to look. I really like the game, I do, but it's difficult. It's difficult to pitch and recommend to someone because when you go, okay, so the idea is that you've got, your normal buildings at the huge scale, but you can go into the small buildings and you can micromanage them at the smaller scale, right? So it's got this macro versus micro. But after an hour, you don't need to do it anymore. The only thing you really need to do it for is for these mineral production chains, and that's because they don't have an equivalent large building that does that, right? It's all a bit weird. Anyway, so I think it's wonderful. I think it's worth the price because the music, the art, even the voice acting, all the little characters from the different departments that help you. I think the whole package is really, really cool. But to say that it has an identity crisis would be a fair assessment as well. But at the end of the day, who cares if you're having fun? I'm having fun. I'm going to keep coming back to this and playing it in my own time. Anyway, so there's my sort of honest appraisal of where it's at, Industries of Titan. I think it's really, really cool, and you should check it out. And you should also check out these guys in general, especially Phantom Brigade. Very different game, but same sort of design principles. Just really, really cool. Looking forward to where that goes. Anyway, enough waffling. Let me know what you reckon, team. Might just leave it there for the time being, and I'll catch you guys on the next one.